The witch that haunts at 3 a.m., devastating encounters you won't forget forever. In the small town of Briar Creek, a terrifying legend whispered through the shadows. Every night at exactly 3 a.m., the infamous witch of Willow Creek would awaken, her eerie presence sending chills down the spines of even the bravest souls. Locals spoke of strange occurrences: the air thickening, electricity crackling, and a disorienting mist that rolled in from nowhere. Flickering streetlights would cast sinister shadows, and everyone seemed to know someone who had witnessed her spectral form, lurking just beyond the edge of the forest. Those who dared cross her path claimed she had eyes that glowed like embers, burning deep into the soul. But wait, it gets even stranger. Folks added that on nights when the full moon hung low, you could hear her low, haunting chants floating through the town, like a ghostly lullaby that held a sinister rhythm. Some swore they could hear the cries of lost souls woven into her song. It wasn't just the locals who felt it, even visitors would stop dead in their tracks, eyes wide with terror, a morbid fascination drawing them closer to the forest's edge, sick with curiosity. Not a single person could ever figure out where she came from or even why she chose this town to haunt. As the clock struck midnight, the energy pulsed thicker. In hushed tones, they shared stories of disappearances, the way she'd disappear into the darkness, taking with her those who dared venture too close. Was it a curse or a warning? The townspeople only knew that each encounter left a sense of dread lurking in their hearts. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The Witch of Willow Creek was no mere tale, she was a palpable presence, a mystery woven through the very fabric of the town. As one desperate teenager recounted a night he thought he saw her, a collective gasp echoed in the dimly lit diner. He described her silhouette hovering just behind the trees, cloaked in shadow yet radiating a frightful power. She was looking right at me, he stammered, his hands trembling. The others leaned closer, fear twinkling in their eyes as the diner's neon sign buzzed and flickered, casting a haunting glow. Just then, as if on cue, the lights went out, plunging everyone into darkness. Heartbeats quickened, breaths shallow. They could hear the sound of creaking wood, shifting outside, but was it only the wind? Or was the witch herself stirring in the night? The lingering question haunted them: who would be the next victim of the witch that plagued Briar Creek? And as they huddled tight, the reality hit them: the line between fear and disbelief was growing dangerously thin. What if the next scream they heard was not just a figment of imagination, but the terrifying truth hiding in the night? The diner fell completely silent. The darkness wrapped around them like a thick, suffocating blanket. Panic rippled through the group, their eyes wide, staring into the unknown. The boy who had seen the witch, Ethan, whispered, "Did you hear that?" A low, mournful wail drifted through the air, just audible enough to stir the latent fears in their hearts. It echoed off the walls of the diner, wrapping around them like tendrils of smoke. Was it the wind, or something far more sinister? A shiver climbed up the spines of the patrons, their chairs scraping against the floor as instinct kicked in. "Get the flashlights!" someone yelled, voice trembling. In a frantic scramble, the group stumbled over one another, reaching into bags and pockets, searching for anything that could pierce the dark. The feeble beams cut through the gloom, creating eerie dance patterns on the walls, darting from face to face. Fear was carved into every expression. Wide eyes, shiny with sweat, reflected the flickering lights. Suddenly, a loud crash outside made them jump. The sound seemed impossibly close. One of the diner staff rushed to the window, squinting into the blackness. I think it came from the woods," she gasped. The laughter of a child played in stark contrast to the dreadful atmosphere, and a chill of realization swept over everyone. There were no children anywhere near. The laughter lingered, echoing with an unholy glee. "Open the door!" shouted Ethan, his voice a mixture of anger and fear. "We need to see what's happening." But no one moved. They were frozen, rooted to the spot, consumed by dread and the unknown.
Do you really want to find out if it's her?
Sarah, another diner patron, finally spoke, her voice a whisper straining against the rising tension. Each word was a heavier weight on the crowd, and suddenly, the realization hit this was not just another urban legend. They might be standing directly in the path of something monstrous. The lights flickered back to life, bathing them in weak illumination. And there it was, a figure at the edge of the forest, barely distinguishable from the encroaching shadows. The air crackled as everyone held their breath, frozen by a mix of terror and curiosity. "Is that someone?" started, but the word hung in the air, unsaid. The figure shifted, it seemed to be watching them. Eyes that glowed like a dying fire pierced through the darkness, fixing on each terrified visage. A wave of icy despair washed over the group, the very air heavy with a sense of foreboding. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut, locking them in the diner. The jingle of the bell over the door rang out in the sudden stillness, like a death knell echoing against the walls. Everyone jumped, hearts racing. A high-pitched laughter erupted from outside, breaking the suffocating silence. It was a sound twisted with malice, the laughter of something that held no joy, only cruel intentions. "It found us," one patron murmured, face pale, realization dawning like a rising sun of terror. The clock on the wall ticked louder, each second a countdown to what was coming. Outside, the glowing eyes drew nearer, pressing against the edges of the woods, as the witch began her haunting chorus. "What do we do?" Ethan cried out, panic flooding his voice. They could hear the chant now, a rhythmic, malicious song that slipped under their skin like ice. The teasing notes twisted around their hearts, urging them to let go, to succumb to the night. Each syllable taunted, promising horrors yet unseen. But there was one last flicker of hope. Someone had to confront the witch, to face the terror that had gripped Briar Creek for too long. "Enough!" Ethan shouted, determination igniting in his chest. "We can't let her take us." As shadows danced around them, something deep within him urged forward. The moment had come. Would anyone dare step into the heart of darkness, risking everything for the chance to free their town? As the witch's laughter crescendoed, a chilling thought gripped him. Perhaps she chose this night for more than just terror. Perhaps she had come for him, and as the spellbound crowd fell silent, the question lingered on everyone's lips: could a sacrifice in the face of darkness shatter the curse, or ignite a far worse nightmare? Ethan's heart raced as he stared into the void. The tension in the diner was palpable. Around him, the corners of the room seemed to draw tighter, as if the walls were closing in. The frenzied eyes of his friends darted between each other, seeking comfort, strength, anything to hold on to ward off the fear wrapped around them like a barbed wire. "Ethan, we can't just sit here." Sarah's voice trembled, her hands clasped together, knuckles white. "What if she really is here for you? We can't let her take you." "Then we fight," he declared, the words escaping his lips like a spark igniting dry tinder. The fire in him grew stronger the more he spoke. "We can't let her control us. If she wants me, I'll go out there. But you all have to promise me no one follows. You stay back." The murmurs of the crowd intensified, drifting into panic. "He can't go alone," someone cried. A few nodded in agreement, while others looked as if they might pass out. "Listen!" he shouted, raising his hands. "If I don't come back, you all need to leave. Get out of Briar Creek. Run far away." The grim acceptance of his own fate weighed heavily in the air, but determination radiated from him. "And do what? Just leave?" one patron yelled. "Let her have you?" Outside, the laughter became louder, interspersed with the screeching chant of the witch. Ethan, his name flowed through the air, twisting like a serpent. His vision blurred as shadows moved in the darkness outside. He turned toward the door, a burning sensation in his chest. Every heartbeat echoed in fervor, pushing him towards the threshold. "I can't wait. I'm going." And he lunged for the door. As he reached for the handle, a bone-chilling wind swept through the diner, extinguishing the flashlights, plunging them back into darkness. A chorus of gasps surrounded him, the world transformed into a sea of dread. The only light remaining came from the ghostly glow of the eyes, now edging closer, piercing through the black. "Ethan, don't!" A body rushed towards him, but he held firm. The door rattled as he turned the knob. It resisted. It felt as if an invisible force pushed against it, but with all his might, he heaved, and it finally yielded. The door opened with a reluctant creak, revealing the heart of the night, a vast emptiness that pulsed with an ominous energy. Then, it hit him. A wave of nausea washed over, the stench of decay mingling with the sweetness of the pine trees. Standing just outside the threshold was the witch, her silhouette barely distinguishable. He could make out the sickly twist of her smile, a demented grin that split her face in two. She looked like she stepped straight from a living nightmare.
Ethan, she breathed, voice unnaturally sweet.
The blood ran cold through his veins. "I'm not afraid of you," he shouted back, but his voice sounded small against the weight of her malevolence. "Oh, darling," she crooned, swirling in a fluid motion, taunting him. "You should be." The darkness beyond engulfed the diner, swallowing any remaining light.
"Ethan!" He heard Sarah's faint cry, but it was too late.
His hand slipped off the doorframe as he took a step closer. The world shuddered as the laughter of the witch escalated to a piercing cacophony around him. Then, in the depths of despair, a revelation struck.
What if this was all a trap? "Run!"
he screamed to the others as shadows tugged at him, trying to pull him into the abyss.
But what if they too were bound by her spell? Was there a way to break the hold she had on all their lives?
He pushed against the dark force, but it was too strong. As he stumbled back, he caught glimpses of horrified faces, trapped in the nightmare.
"Ethan!"
Sarah's scream echoed, conflicting with the witch's maniacal laughter as it spiraled into the night, engulfing the diner in terror. Desperation clawed at his throat. Was this truly the end? The door slammed shut behind him with a finality that reverberated like thunder.
Silence enveloped the diner in an embrace of dread. What would happen next?
Surely, the witch held her own secrets, veils upon veils of darkness yet to unfold, and as it all faded into stillness, another thought lingered. Was his sacrifice the key to end this curse, or had he just unleashed something far worse? Ethan gasped, clawing at his throat, trying to dispel the choking darkness that seemed to wrap around him like a serpent. The world blurred, shifting to shades of black and gray, while the laughter of the witch echoed in his ears, hollow, echoing, and haunting. He barely registered the warmth of the diner behind him fading into an icy void.
"Ethan!"
Sarah's voice, a lifeline in the dark, tugged at him, battling against the encroaching despair, mixing with the witch's sickly sweet calls.
But where was she?
He turned to face the shadows behind him, desperate to see if his friends were still there, still fighting.
"Stay back!" he shouted into the dim. "Stay away from the door."
And then, in the reflective shadows, he spotted her, a silhouette darting through the oppressive darkness, a figure desperately trying to hold on to life amidst panic. It was a reminder of the stakes he faced. He couldn't let them follow him. Not now. The witch stood before him, her long fingers outstretched, beckoning him to come closer.
"You know it's too late for them. Join me, Ethan."
"You know you want to," she sang, her voice dripping with seduction, tempting him out. He shook his head violently, every fiber of his being screaming that he needed to fight.
"I won to let you win."
But as he stepped further into the night, piercing shadows danced around him, swirling like smoke. They lunged at him, grazing his skin, chilling him to the bone. It felt like they wanted to consume him. With sheer willpower, he fought the darkness, taking a step back, then another, hoping to retreat, hoping to find safety.
"What do you want from me?"
he shouted, his voice rising above the chaos, challenging her. "Your fears, my darling," she hissed, a smile slicing across her face.
"They give me power. Feed me."
As if summoned by her words, visions flooded his mind. Screams of horror filled the air, children crying, memories of pain flashing before his eyes, images of past failures and unspoken regrets. He felt raw, exposed.
Each thought sliced deeper, amplifying his vulnerability. "No!" Ethan clenched his fists, willing himself to break free. He had to focus. Sarah, his friends, they were counting on him.
He couldn't let the witch drown him in nostalgia and despair.
"You're stronger than this.
You can fight it," he whispered to himself, summoning a flicker of strength within.
"Fight?"
The witch's laughter echoed, high and wild.
You have no idea what you're up against. With newfound resolve, Ethan took a step forward. The shadows pulled back, hesitating before him. You may have taken everything from me, but you will not take my friends. At that moment, a powerful energy rippled through the night. Light broke at the edges of the shadows, a soft glow that pierced the dark veil surrounding him. Ethan could feel it, an invisible thread weaving together his resolve and the whispers of his friends. He shut his eyes, concentrated, grasping tightly to the light, flooding his heart with hope. Together, he whispered. We are stronger together. As if responding to his call, the air thickened, swirling with colors, creating a vortex that repelled the shadows. For a moment, he could feel their freezing grip loosening. But the witch's eyes blazed with fury. You think you can escape me? I cannot be banished so easily. Her voice morphed into a thunderous roar, resonating like shattered glass. I don't want to. He shouted back, summoning every ounce of life within him. But I can set my friends free. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. The diner's walls shook, rattling with despair as an unseen force began to clash against the witch's power. And just like that, the world spun. His vision whirled, colors blurring with frantic intensity, blinding him as the laughter turned to shrieks. The agony of souls intertwined with his spirit, pulling at him, urging him to stand his ground. But what if he fell deeper into the abyss? What if his strength wasn't enough? In the distance, he heard the screams of his friends, their pleas ripping through the darkness. Were they being consumed, or could he save them? Ethan met the witch's demonic gaze, feeling the battle rage on. All at once, reality split open like a fragile flower, revealing a chasm of light and darkness, pulling him into its centers. In that moment, he realized the truth: the witch thrived on fear, but courage might just be the key to breaking her hold. Would he have the strength to seize that courage, or would the shadows claim him forever? As he took another step, the ground trembled beneath him, fracturing uncertainty into clarity. And then it hit him: what if the real fight wasn't he with her, but against his own fears? The moment Ethan stepped forward, the ground beneath his feet erupted into chaos. Cracks spiderwebbed across the diner's floor, like a forgotten web of nightmare and reality. Shadows lurked, eager to reclaim him, while the witch stood tall, her laughter turning sharp, a metallic echo of delight resonating in the growing darkness. Foolish boy, she hissed, her face twisting with malice. You think you can conquer what you fear? You know nothing of suffering. The room spun dizzyingly, the walls warping, twisting as though alive. Ethan grimaced, pushing against a sudden wave of despair, paralyzing and slick like ice wrapping around his limbs. He could feel the cold tendrils of memory creeping into his mind, his past failures, moments when he hesitated, times he let his friends down. Screams mingled with cries for help as images of his friends being devoured by darkness flashed before him like film clips on a broken reel. In that whirlwind of chaos, he could barely breathe, caught in the grip of his own insecurities. You are nothing without them, the witch sneered, stepping closer, her breath rancid. You'll lose them just like you lost everything else. No! Ethan shouted, the word igniting a flicker of rebellion within him. He clenched his fists, envisioning Sarah, her determined eyes, the bond they shared. Their friendship was light, a beacon amidst the ever-advancing shadows. Conjure them! The witch cackled, the rest of her features darkening in a whirl of shadows. They need you to save them, but your fear is stronger than your hope. Surrender, and they shall be freed. A whirlwind of emotions roared inside him, making it hard to hear anything over the commotion reverberating in his chest. But then it hit him. The strength he felt when he was surrounded by his friends, the courage that surged when they banded together, was the very thing that could shatter her hold. He had to fight, not just for himself, but for all of them. Together! He shouted, louder than he thought possible. We're together against you. Suddenly, the air changed. The shadows hesitated, almost quaking as bright flashes of light began cutting through the black fog enveloping the diner. One by one, his memories turned into allies, laughter, joy, moments of loyalty, a soft crescendo building in the chaotic vortex. Ethan felt their strength merging with his, a tide of support crashing into despair. He didn't have to be alone. He felt their arms wrapping around his own soul, their courage fueling a powerful surge of defiance.
The shadows recoiled as he poured every ounce of love and grit into a single, raw scream, "Not today." The witch's furious visage fell, snarling at the light that grew.
The diner's walls began to comb, reforming like pieces of a puzzle snapping into place. "You think you won?"
she spat, retreating slightly.
"This isn't over, dear Ethan, your fears will return."
But he wouldn't let her snatch the joy from him again, not now or ever. The light within him blazed brighter, pushing against the shadows.
"I am more than my fears."
With newfound strength, he surged forward. Every step ignited a spark of light, illuminating his path, pushing the darkness back inch by inch. But just as hope began to rise above despair, the ground beneath him trembled violently, as if the very fabric of reality was tearing.
Was it the witch's last stand?
Would this mean the return of the darkness, or could he finally banish her? As the overwhelming momentum began to throw him off balance, Ethan caught a glimpse of his friends Sarah, Jason, and the others trapped just beyond the veil. Their faces were pale, eyes pleading. He locked onto their gaze, his heart racing. He needed one final push, but could he break through the veil that separated them? Or would this moment become another painful memory, lost in the darkness? With every ounce of courage he had left, he shouted into the storm, "We fight as one. We will not fall." And with that call echoing loudly, darkness and light collided in a catastrophic embrace. As the blur enveloped him, Ethan understood that beyond the veil of shadows, an even greater battle was unfolding, one that would determine not just his fate but the fate of all they held dear. Would he emerge victorious, or become another echo swallowed by shadows and regrets? The collision of darkness and light sent shockwaves through the diner. Ethan felt the very essence of reality buckle beneath him, a mix of exhilaration and dread igniting his senses. He squeezed his eyes shut, the blinding light seeping in through his eyelids, the chaotic orchestra of sound enveloping his ears. Above the cacophony, he barely registered the witch's furious screeches, a sound like breaking glass shattering into his bones. The darkness recoiled, but it was not finished yet. Tendrils of shadow lashed out, thick and snake-like, wrapping around his ankles and dragging him downward. Panic surged. "No!" he gasped, lurching forward. He could still see his friends, trapped in their own dark corners, their eyes wide with fear. The light pulsed with intensity as he fought against the binding darkness. He reached out, instinctively searching for the warmth of his friends, the tangible connection of their shared hope. "Sarah! Jason! I can feel you. Hold on." He called, the words tumbling out as if they'd hold the shadows at bay. As if answering his plea, small tendrils of light flickered in response, erupting from where their memories intertwined. A sudden rush engulfed him, bright rays of laughter, warmth, and loyal promises, swirling in a magnificent display against the shadowy depths. The witch hissed, her laughter turning to rage. "You think they can save you?" Ethan pressed on, his determination rising like a wave, fueled by the essence of friendship. "Yes. Together we're unstoppable." The room vibrated with newfound power, surging from every joyful moment he shared with them. The shadows writhed, twisting, and trying to reclaim the ground lost to the light. Suddenly, the witch lunged, her skeletal hand aiming for him. The moment felt like a slow-motion heartbeat, stretching out in sheer terror. He barely dodged her grip, the cold air nipping at his skin. All his fears concentrated into a single thought: he could not fail, not when Sarah's and Jason's lives hinged on this battle. "Now, we've got to unite. Here!" he shouted, bringing to mind their most cherished experiences, the times they fought back together against school bullies, the late-night talks of dreams and hopes they once shared. The very fabric of friendship was their weapon. Above the din, he felt the light swell, racing like a comet through the abyss, weaving together a tapestry of strength that began to encase him. Ethan turned his gaze to his friends, focusing on the strands connecting them. "Remember who we are. Remember," the witch howled in outrage, her hands flicking out, trying to sever the bonds they shared. "You think mere memories can protect you?" But Ethan's heart was resolute. "Yes. They are everything." As the connection strengthened, he felt them. His friends surged forward, shadows snapping and cracking around them, bursting forth with bright light. Ethan could feel a weight lift from the room, almost anticipatory, as if reality itself held its breath. Just then, a flash illuminated the diner fully, casting off the last remnants of darkness. Reality shifted and trembled, and for a blissful moment, the witch looked frail, almost delicate before them, a shadow caught in the radiance of truth, but as quickly as it came, it began to unravel. A darkness like a black hole formed behind the witch, impossibly deep and consuming.
No! Ethan gasped, feeling the ground tremble once more.
The light flickered, wavering dangerously as the witch's eyes glinted with malevolence.
You've only delayed the inevitable.
With those words, the darkness twisted into an enormous vortex, dragging everything toward it: his friends, the diner, and even the light he fought so fiercely for. The spell of joy they had woven started to unravel, threads snapping like silken cords. Ethan braced himself, his heart pounding in his chest. He fought against the suffocating pull, glaring at the witch.
This isn't over.
He shouted, but fear clawed at his throat. Before the shadows swallowed him whole, he locked eyes with Sarah and Jason one last time.
Their expressions conveyed the essence of unwavering friendship, a spark of defiance. And then, everything plunged into darkness. What awaited him in the void? Would he find his friends lost within this endless despair, or would the witch's reign drown any trace of hope? Ethan's breath came in ragged gasps. The darkness pressed around him, a tangible weight constricting his chest. Cold seeped into his bones, wrapping around him like a shroud. Where am I? He thought, panic crashing over him like waves. As he floated in the void, a familiar sound pierced the silence: the soft giggle of Sarah. He blinked into the darkness, scrambling to find her, to reach for her. Sarah! Jason! His voice echoed, swallowed by the suffocating shadows. Where are you? Suddenly, a pinprick of light flickered in the distance. Heart racing, he surged toward it, fighting against the pressing black. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing him closer. Ethan! It was Jason's voice, urgent, trembling. Ethan could feel a surge of hope. We're over here. The light brightened as he dashed forward, relief flooding him as he finally reached his friends, their faces illuminated in the soft glow. They huddled together, arms around one another, shielding each other from the encroaching dark. Are you okay? Ethan asked breathlessly, scanning their faces for any signs of injury. Jason nodded, though his eyes brimmed with fear. Sarah bit her lip, glancing nervously back into the void. We're okay, but that witch, she is not finished with us. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. She is stronger than before, he said, recalling her malevolent gleam when darkness thickened behind her. We have to stick together. It's our only chance. But the deep shadow began to swirl again, anger percolating at its core. The air shimmered with tension, and the shadows hissed, weaving around them like snakes. Do you honestly believe you can escape? The witch's voice slithered through the dark. You are trapped in my world now. Jason's grip tightened on Ethan's shoulder. What do we do? He whispered, trembling, gathering every ounce of courage. Ethan faced the encroaching darkness. We remember. Our memories are our light. He locked eyes with Sarah and Jason, and the light began to flicker again, the warmth of shared laughter and joy building between them, weaving a fragile shield. But the shadows lunged, clinging onto the light, dampening it. It won't be enough. You are nothing but children playing games. The witch's laughter twisted through the air, sharp and biting. Sarah! Jason exclaimed suddenly, wide-eyed. That day at the lake. When we burned our fears in that fire? We can do it again. Ethan caught onto Jason's thought, dread mingling with hope. Yes. Let us burn away this darkness. He focused hard, drawing the memories of that day running through the grass, the warmth of the sun, the flames crackling, devouring their past fears. Together, they conjured the image in their minds, reaching back to that moment, bringing it forth until it glowed like a bonfire. As they summoned the memory, flickering shadows began retreating, screaming in torment. The shadows cried out, recoiling from the blazing light. No! You can't! And yet, it was. The light surged brighter than before, an explosion of color that filled the void, swallowing the darkness surrounding them. But in the moment of triumph, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble.
A fissure opened up, a raging swirl of shadows beckoning.
This isn't over.
The witch shrieked, her voice a cacophony of fury.
Ethan's heart sank.
It was a trap, a diversion.
We have to move.
He shouted, pulling his friends closer, but shadows began to encircle their legs, pulling them down once more. Just as despair threatened to swallow him whole, Ethan locked onto Sarah.
We're fighting this together.
The space around them was losing its battle against the darkness.
Hold on,
he yelled. Clenching his fist, he focused all his energy and love, shouting against the encroaching void, "We refuse to let you win." And that's when he felt it, the pulse of the collective hope of friendship surging within. It felt electric, vibrant, and above all, alive. But just as the darkness began to swirl, something shifted behind them.
"Ethan!"
Sarah cried, eyes wide with alarm.
"Look out!"
His heart raced as he whipped around, a pit forming in his
stomach.
Something was waiting to strike, lurking in the shadows.
What was it?
Was it the witch, or something worse? As the unknown loomed closer, Ethan realized they might not just be facing darkness, but a horror beyond even that. And everyone knew, the deeper they went into the void, the greater the darkness they'd have to face. Ethan's pulse hammered in his ears as he turned slowly, adrenaline coursing through his veins.
Whatever was lurking in the shadows felt like a living nightmare, ready to pounce.
Jason's breath caught beside him, the tension between the three of them palpable. Sarah's eyes darted, searching the darkness for a sign of what was coming. Then, from the depths of that impenetrable blackness, a figure began to emerge. Slowly, it took shape, an echo of familiar features twisted in agony, a grotesque reflection of someone they once knew.
"Is that?"
Jason started, his voice trailing off, genuine horror lining his face.
"Yes," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. It's Sophie."
Sophie had been their old friend, lost in an accident they never spoke of. To see her now, distorted and locked in a silent scream, sent a chill down Ethan's spine. Darkness crept around her body like a suffocating cloak. The witch was toying with them.
"Let her go!"
Ethan shouted, anger boiling over. He stepped forward, fists clenched, ignoring the shadows that tugged at him.
"You can't keep doing this."
"Oh, Ethan."
Sophie's voice, though choked and distorted, still echoed with a haunting familiarity. "It's not me she wants. It's you. Run!"
Jason yelled, panic thrusting him into action. They were losing too much ground. But it felt impossible to move, the shadows tightened around their ankles like angry serpents. Ethan shook his head, fighting against the pull of the darkness.
"No. I want to leave her. No."
Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts, laced with desperation.
"Ethan, she is not real.
She is part of the witch's trick." But the shadows hissed, rising even higher, blocking their escape as Ethan took another step closer. He could feel the energy of his friends dissipating like smoke in the wind. It didn't matter if it was real or a trick, he couldn't abandon Sophie again.
"Don't you see?"
The figure twisted, mocking.
"You left me once. You can do it again."
1,000 memories crashed over him, laughter, joy, and a darkness suffocating every bit of light between them. Sophia's fractured silhouette seemed to shimmer with a sickly glow as the shadows gripped her tighter.
"Ethan, she is trying to bring you in," Jason screamed.
The ground rocked beneath their feet as more shadows launched from the void, howling and screeching as they coiled around Ethan like a noose.
"You can't let her trick you."
But it was too late. Ethan could feel the warmth in his heart wane, the light inside of him dimming. His grip on reality faltered as the shadows tightened, suffocating any thought of escape. Sarah and Jason's voices became muffled, filled with panic yet slipping away like sand through his fingers.
"Fight it, Ethan!"
Sarah cried, her voice a beacon in the chaos, fighting desperately against the darkness trying to swallow her whole.
"Remember who you are. Remember us."
Ethan's vision began to blur, the world spinning around him. He was drowning in despair, but he clung to Sarah's words. Memories flooded back, bright afternoons at the park, echoes of laughter around campfires, dreams of a lifetime spent together.
"Sophie is gone. He finally yelled back, piercing through the fog. "This isn't her." The words fueled a surge inside him. It felt like fire igniting, sparking against the chill of the shadows. He fought against the darkness now wrapping around him like vines. But the shadows were relentless, and the witch's laughter echoed like thunder in his mind. "You think you can escape?" Just as the shadows swelled in triumph and pulled him down, there was a flash. A burst of brilliant white light radiated from Jason's hand, illuminating the void. "Together!" he shouted, reaching desperately for Ethan and Sarah. As the light flared, something cracked, like glass shattering, as the shadows recoiled, screeching in agony. But it wasn't over. No, the darkness still loomed, a gaping maw that breathed fury. Something else stirred within the shadows, something more sinister. "What is happening?" Ethan gasped as the light struggled against the encroaching black. Then, from beneath the whirlpool of shadows, a deeper voice emerged, chilling them to the bone. "You think you can fight me? I feast on your fears." Ethan felt the shadows pull back for just a second, but he knew they were far from safety. It was a trap, a deeper layer of darkness waiting to drown them all over again. What did she awaken? Ethan thought, as dread clawed at his insides. And as the looming figure in the shadows shifted, he realized they were not alone in the void anymore. What ancient horror had the witch called forth from the depths? Ethan's breath came in ragged bursts, every inhale feeling like a struggle against the very air itself. The shadows writhed around him, an obscene ballet of darkness as the deeper voice mocked him from the abyss. "Do you feel it? Your memories, they're delicious," it taunted, slithering closer. A sickly green glow emanated from the depths, illuminating the twisted forms of those once lost in the darkness. Faces he recognized but felt estranged from stared back with hollow eyes, deepening his horror. "Keep fighting, Ethan," Sarah urged, her voice trembling yet fierce. She stood her ground, illuminating herself in Jason's light. "This isn't just Sophie, this is everything we've faced. Our fears are their fuel." Ethan swept his gaze across his friends, their faces fueled by determination. He drew strength from their resolve, even as the shadows lurched with a life of their own, clawing at his sanity. "Let me show you your guilt." The voice hissed, and the darkness surged forward as the shadows around them began to reshape. Pictures of their past flooded into his mind, each memory discolored with grief and twisted shame, overwhelming him. Suddenly, Ethan saw the accident that had taken Sophie, played like a looped nightmare, vivid and unrelenting. The heavy thud, the blaring sirens, the lifeless body. He could feel the weight of the blame crushing his chest. "No! It wasn't my fault," he shouted, anger exploding from his core. "Denial is so cute," the voice crooned, its presence festering like an open wound. "Your guilt is the sweetest nectar. You left her behind, and she craves your remorse." He could see Sophie's broken form through the shadows, her once bright spirit now reduced to a mere puppet of sorrow. But lurking just behind her was something darker, an entity cloaked in despair. "Don't believe it, Ethan," Jason yelled, pushing forward. As if on cue, the light from his hand blazed brighter. "She's a deception. Remember your love for her, don't let it twist into something negative." Ethan forced himself to think clearly. Sophie wouldn't want this. His heart raced, rekindling a sense of purpose as fragmented memories rushed through him, not guilt, but love. The laughter, the adventures, the good times. He could see her smile, hear her laughter, and the life they dreamed of having together. Drawing from that love, chaos erupted within him, fiery determination to fight against the oppressive shadows that sought to claim him. He stood firm, feeling the pulse of strength surge through him. "Together!" he shouted, joining his friends. Each word propelled energy he hadn't known he possessed. "We face this thing together, our fears one win." In that moment, the ground shook violently. Shadows hissed, recoiling as if stung, momentarily weakened by a bond stronger than fear. Rage surged through Ethan, a cleansing fire fanning the flames of rebellion against the darkness, but just as their combined strength fractured some of the shadowous fortress, the sinister voice roared back, an explosion of fury resounding. "You think you defy me? You know nothing of true despair." With a monstrous crack, the ground beneath them split open, a gaping chasm yawning wide, chaos and darkness swirling below. Stay close, Sarah shouted, reaching for Ethan and Jason.
They clasped hands, but the shadows surged anew, streaming like oil, seeking to pull them apart.
We aren't leaving,
Ethan shouted, defiance hardening his resolve. As the darkness spiraled, a figure emerged from the chasm, the true form of their torment. It loomed larger than any nightmare, a mass of writhing shadows that pulsed with sinister energy. Ethan's heart sank, but he held firmly onto the hands of his friends. Gritting his teeth, he prepared to face this terror, one final struggle against an ancient darkness. What sinister power would reveal itself as they plunged into the depths of the unknown?
Ethan gripped Sarah's and Jason's hands tighter, the sensation grounding him amidst the chaos.
The grotesque mass before them was unfurling, an embodiment of all the pain, guilt, and fear that had haunted them for so long.
Dark tendrils lunged forward, reaching for them, looking to snuff out their hope. Together,
Ethan shouted, finding strength in their unity, their shared past fueling the fire within.
We fight as one.
The oppressive weight around them fluctuated, shadows buckling under the force of their defiance. It felt exhilarating, similar to the rush they'd experienced during their childhood adventures, those bright, carefree days that now shimmered like equatorial sunlight against the backdrop of the present darkness. The amorphous monster recoiled, and with every breath, Ethan could feel the momentum shift.
Do you really think memories will save you? The dark voice thundered, echoing off the walls of the void.
They are a curse.
You can't escape your truths.
From it, shadows burst forth, twisting memories of failures, lost friendships, and guilt into horrific faces that swarmed around them.
No!
Sarah yelled, her voice cutting through the horror.
We're not afraid of you. With that, she conjured a memory of laughter, a picnic by the shimmering lake, perfectly captured with bright shades and joyful shouts.
The ghostly forms surrounding them faltered, swaying as the light from their memories illuminated the dark. Jason stepped forward, his heart hammering, refusing to be claimed by despair.
Ethan! Remember that summer before high school? The fire we built? The fears we burned together?
Yeah. Ethan felt the warmth of camaraderie filling his chest.
We faced it head-on.
And amidst that warmth, a fire sparked to life, igniting their resolve with brilliance as their laughter echoed through the surrounding void, growing louder, transforming memories into armor.
Stay with me,
Ethan cried out, holding onto the flickering light of their shared joy, fighting to conjure images of hope even as shadows twisted around them. The vibrant laughter of his friends had ignited something deep within him, a fearless ember that could turn the tide.
Let us burn our fears,
Ethan roared, with every ounce of anger aimed at the overwhelming despair. A surge of light burst forth, wrapping around them like a warm embrace.
Tendrils of darkness hissed, desperately pushing back against the flames that began to engulf their fears. No! The entity shrieked, its voice breaking.
The shadows writhed, losing their grip on the trio. Jason and Sarah shouted, pushing forth with their own powerful memories, a camping trip beneath the stars, candlelit celebrations, and the promise they'd made to always stand together. Three lights converged, melding into one, stronger than any shadow could withstand. The depths of darkness quaked, shadows clawing desperately against the encroaching warmth, howling in anguish.
They would not give in. Impossible.
The creature gasped, retreating against the blinding brilliance slicing through the void, illuminating the once thick haze of despair. As the energy surged, Ethan felt a rush of strength swell within them.
We are not bound by our past, he shouted again, brave and determined.
The fiery light swelled, pushing against the darkness until it fractured, splintered shards of shadows exploding outward. In an instant, the walls around them began to collapse, as if the very illusions of despair were peeling away like layers of paint, revealing the beating heart of truth beneath the surface. Everything surged toward them, a raw, pulsating energy showered with the strength of their shared spirits. Suddenly, the witch materialized amongst the chaos, her face twisted in frustration.
You can't break me,
she shouted, fury radiating through her bones.
You are nothing but playthings. With renewed conviction, Ethan lunged forward.
What you don't understand is that we turned our pain into strength.
You can't hold us captive anymore.
And with that final declaration, they unleashed everything, their joys, their fears, their anger, and their unwavering friendship, all erupting into a brilliant beam of light that pierced the heart of the witch. The explosion resonated through the void, illuminating the shadows, casting away every trace of doubt and darkness. The witch let out a shattering scream as she dissolved, the near ethereal form shattering like glass, a beautiful cacophony of light bursting forth. The echoes of despair faded away like smoke under a sun, and just like that, silence enveloped them. Ethan blinked, feeling the warmth of daylight against his skin. They were back in the diner, the low hum of life restoring its rhythm around them. The shadows had dissipated. People milled about, oblivious to the horrors they just faced. He turned to Sarah and Jason, their breathing heavy but relieved. "We did it," he whispered, the warmth of hope flooding through him. Joy danced in their eyes, but the palpable weight of loss lingered, the memories of Sophie intertwined with their victory. "We can't forget her," Sarah said softly, a lump in her throat. "She'll always be a part of us." Jason nodded. "And together, we can honor that." They clasped hands, uniting once more in a captivating promise to keep the light alive, to celebrate their friendship, even in sorrow. They would carry each other's burdens, confronting fears old and new together, stepping into tomorrow with hope. And as they walked out into the daylight, the air bright and clear, they knew the witch would never haunt Briar Creek again. Not as long as they stood together. Now is the time to support this incredible journey. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm. You know how important it is. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear from every amazing person part of this community, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Thank you for it.